Hey everyone, this is Avish Parashar. Welcome to my Soloprov show for today. I apologize for the late start. Evidently, Facebook changed, and suddenly, even though I've done this a few times now, it said this doesn't support live video. Your browser doesn't support live video, so I had to download a Chrome beta. But hey, I got within the 10-minute window of it timing out my live, so welcome. This is Soloprov. My name is Avish Parashar, if you don't know me, and I am the world's only motivational improviser. So what I'm doing is a little thing called Soloprov, where I'm going to play an improv game by myself. Normally, I'd have partners, a live audience, but in this coronavirus world, I'm going to play an improv game. It's called Gibberish Switch, and then I'm going to share how exactly I played that game. I'll go into some tips on an explanation of the keys that made that game work, and then I'll share a few takeaways from those ideas that you can use in the real world to think quickly, to move forward, and to deal with this crazy world we're living in right now. So the game I'm going to play is called Gibberish Switch. And the way it works is I'm going to act out a scene between two people. Yes, one performer. I'm going to have two people. I'll just shift back and forth. And what I'll do is I'll have the scene, I'm acting it out, and I'll be speaking in English. Periodically, I'll clap my hands. And when I do, I will switch into gibberish, which is a made-up language, and then when I clap my hands, I'll switch back to English as if the two people completely understood each other, and the conversation will continue. So to begin this, I'm just going to start with a simple suggestion. If you are watching live and you want to help me out, in the chat box, you can write down any kind of a job or occupation. Random is great, something you don't hear about every day, but frankly, any suggestion is fine if you want to type a job in the comment box. I also have a tab up on my browser with a random job generator. So I'll click on that as well and just see what comes up. And I'm going to pick, well, let me rerun, get a new flash here. Okay, a dentist. I have, actually, that's a little basic. A court reporter. Excellent. So I'm going to do a scene that involves a court reporter as one person and somebody else who I'm not sure exactly what. And then when I clap, I'll go to gibberish. When I clap back, I'll go to English. And then afterwards, I will debrief, explain, and give you some takeaways you can use in the real world. So here we go. The court reporter is going to be over here. The other person who I don't know right now is going to be over here. So here we go. Hey, Judge, listen, I was thinking I need a day off. I have been reporting so much, and do you think I could take today off? Well, I would be happy to give you the day off, but there's a problem. You see, today, it's important income, and because that case is so important, that tumbo fumbo, and you go and then you will not really be able to report on it, and then people won't know what's going on. Well, I understand that, but I have been here some time, and kind of seen you keep me in here every time I ask for a vacation. You say tumbo, and and that is not right. And I tell you what, because tomorrow I'm going to tell about what's in your closet. Don't tell people what's in my closet. I'm a judge. If people find out, they will sumbo and that would be the end of my career. I know, and it will be the end of my career if I don't get a break. So what do you think? Well, I think I can work with you on this and let you off, but you must do one thing for me first. First, you have to tamo and sing it, and then you go into my desk and tamo simbo and then throw all the drugs away and promise you never saw them again. And timo simbo and then you tell them that you don't know me and you never saw me. Well, okay, I can do that. It's going to be illegal, so I need you to cover me. If I get arrested, you need to get me off. Hey, Timbo, and Simba, but without letting anyone know, Timbo, Singo, and you recuse yourself, which would be a problem. All right, fine. That sounds like a deal. You clear out my drugs. I will give you the day off, and if you get caught, Timbo, Simi, and then we will stay in jail together, Timbo, together, or we will go out together. Go out together? You're saying you want to go on a date with me? That's so flattering. I can get Timbo and say you look so good in those robes, and I've often thought that me, Timbo, and Singa, that if you would, I mean, the supple lines it forms, and Timbo and Singa, we could be together, Timbo and Singa, and you could use that gavel in that way. All right, I'm going to stop right there. If you've joined this stream midway, you might be wondering what on earth that was. I just played an improv game called Gibberish Switch, and the way I played that game is I played two performers. This scene had a court reporter and a judge. And I might have been confusing court reporter with like the bailiff or the stenographer, but that's how I played it. And periodically, I'd speak in English. When I clap my hands, I'd switch to gibberish. When I clap back, I'd switch back to English. So back and forth. Now, if you didn't watch that yet, you can roll this back and watch afterwards. But if you did watch that, it's an interesting game because there's two ways of playing it. And I'm going to share two techniques that you can use off stage from that game. So in this game, when you start speaking in English, you have your thought going. When you switch to gibberish, you want to keep your English thoughts going in your head while your mouth is speaking gibberish. So, for example, if I was talking about how to use, I was giving instruction on how to use a phone, I'd say, well, when you use a phone, you need to send a phone. And when you get to send the button, and similar kind of over, you will lose your thing, but send some but then you don't because your hand's messy. So I'm trying to keep thinking in English what I'm saying at the same time that my mouth is speaking in gibberish. Now, that's very challenging, and it's an improv principle that's actually an advanced principle called disassociation. And there are some improv games where your mouth is doing something different from your body, or what you're saying is actually different from what you're thinking. So while I'm speaking in gibberish, I'm trying to think in English so I can keep track of where I'm going. What happens sometimes in that game when people don't do that is it's almost like they pause. So they'll start saying, but when you touch the screen, you'll see the screen opens up. So just point where you want it to go. Now, if you notice, if you watch that back, if you take the gibberish out, it's kind of as if I never said anything. And that's a very common thing. So the advanced principle here is how can you get your mind to do one thing while your mouth is doing another, while they're still connected? So off stage, you can use this idea. It's a very advanced principle. And obviously, there's tremendous benefit to focus, right? We want to focus on what we're doing, we want to focus on other people. But there are times when the ability to disassociate our minds, to kind of do one thing while part of our brain is thinking of another. I do this all the time when speaking, right? If I'm speaking, I don't do it for like a whole speech, but there are moments where something goes wrong over here. I need to be able to keep delivering my content with the majority of my mind, but have part of my mind thinking, oh my goodness, this next piece isn't going to work. How can I change this on the fly? It takes practice, but doing little games like gibberish, and there's dubbing games where your body is doing something different than your mind, or your mouth is doing different than your mind, is very powerful. So practice the idea of disassociation. It is the antithesis of productivity. This is not multitasking, right? But the more you can train your mind to do one thing over here while still having some mental energy over here, not for communication, but it's a very valuable technique for dealing with the unexpected, which is what we're doing right now. Number two, it's not really a separate way of playing the game, but the other technique that game works is something I've talked about before, which is spontaneity, justification, and incorporation. See, understanding what you say when you switch from gibberish to English is where the power of the game comes. This is why it's a twofold technique. If I'm just speaking in my head in English while my mouth is doing gibberish, then when I come out of that break back into English, it may or may not be interesting or funny. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that when I switch back to English, that I'm putting out a strong offer. And part of that means that I just blurt something out random. Part of that means that in my head, while I'm speaking gibberish, I am moving the story forward in a major way. Right here in this story, if you watch it back, if you're just joining us, I'm talking about an improv game called Gibberish Switch, where we switch from English and gibberish back and forth. In this game, the stuff where the judge required the person to do something, to clear out the drugs, the going on a date idea, right? These all move the action forward such that when I went into my gibberish, I was talking in English. I wasn't talking about that at all. When I went back to gibberish, now suddenly I had moved the story very much forward. Now, 100% of the times when you're watching this as an improv game, that's where the humor comes. The more strong offers you can put into the English as you come out of the gibberish, the more entertaining and interesting the game becomes. If you just kind of keep it all within the same, like if I'm talking about being a court reporter, and I'm like, well, to be a court reporter, I need to and take notes, and I submit my things to the paper and telephone and interview people. None of those are interesting. None of those are funny. It's English, but I'm not pushing forward. If instead I said, well, to be a good court reporter, you need to take your notes down and dance in the streets naked. All right. Now, I then need to justify why I said that and then incorporate that into my story. As you watch this video back, if you go back, when the judge came out and said something about getting together, I didn't really mean that as a date, but the incorporation was that the scene then became about the reporter having a crush on the judge and moving it forward. So offstage, the same is true. Strong offers that move things forward are what are going to get you through uncertainty. It's what's going to create innovation. It's what's going to let you take action when you feel paralyzed or when the rest of the world is paralyzed, kind of like now. the more strong actions you can take, and they don't need to be giant. So in order to make this game work, I need to come out of the conversation, out of the gibberish, with a strong offer. In order to make your business thrive, your relationships grow, your career advance and not feel stuck and stagnant, you need to make a strong offer. Now, you're not going to do gibberish, but what's one step you can take that's completely different than what you've been doing? Try that, justify it into what you're doing, and then incorporate that into your own life in the next way. And then try different things. There are a couple things in this game, if you go back and watch it, I tried. I came out, I didn't really do much with it because it didn't really work, and then I moved on. That's the beauty of improvisation. And that's the beauty, actually, of this world we're in now, is you can try something new. No one's expecting it to work. I'm doing this. Literally, I haven't played this game on stage in 3 or 4 years. And when I did it, it had been 3 or 4 years since I had done it before. Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate that. I like the term Soloprov too, and shockingly, Soloprov.com was available. So I own Soloprov.com, and I'll be doing more and more of these. So try something new, and if it doesn't work, throw it away. And part of my goal here is every so often with these Facebook Lives, I'm going to do things that I'm only about 50-50 as to whether it's going to work. You should do the same. Figure something out, take a bold step, see what happens, and then move on from there. All right, thank you very much. If you like this video, number 1, please like my page and follow along. Number 2, share it. Let others experience what's going on. A little lighthearted improvisation and fun with a little bit of meaning and motivation. I'd appreciate it if you do that. I'm planning on going live again in a few days, probably this coming Friday. So keep your eyes open for that. Thank you very much, Chris. So keep your eyes open for the announcement of the next Soloprov. If I get it together, I'm going to do a game that I have not played solo, live, or virtually ever. But I think it could work real well, but it's going to be one of the most challenging things I've done. I'll share that for the announcement when I decide if I'm going to do it. Probably Friday, if not Monday. Comment if you have any questions. Otherwise, I hope to see you on the next Facebook Live. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Marcy. I like that. Solo provocative. That is an awesome term. I love it. I am 100% going to use that in the future. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.